Hrothgar departed then with his house guard. The lord of the Shieldings, their shelter in war, left the mead hall to live in wherewithal his queen and bedmate. The king of glory, as people learned, had posted a lookout who was a match for Grethel, a guard against monsters, special protection to the Danish prince. And the Geat placed special trust in his strength of limb and the Lord's favor. He began to remove his iron breastmail, took off the helmet, and handed his attendant the plated sword, a smith's masterpiece, ordering him to keep the equipment guarded. And before he bedded down, Beowulf, the Prince of Goodness, proudly asserted, "When it comes to fighting, I count myself as dangerous any day as Grethel, so it won't be a cutting edge I'll wield to mow him down, easy as I might." He had no idea of the arts of war, of shield or swordplay, although he does possess a wild strength. No weapons, therefore, for either this night unarmed he shall face me, if face me he dares. And may the divine Lord in his wisdom grant the glory of victory to whichever side he sees fit. Then down the brave man lay with his bolster under his head, and his wide company of sea rovers at rest beside him. None of them expected he would ever see his homeland again, or get back to his native place and the people who reared him. They knew too well the way it was before, how often the Danes had fallen prey to death in the mead hall, and the Lord was weaving a victory on his war loom for the weather geeks. Through the strength of one, they all prevailed. They would crush their enemy and come through in triumph and gladness. The truth is clear. Almighty God rules over mankind and always has. Then out of the night come the shadow stalker, stealthy and swift. The hall guards were slack, asleep at their post, all except one. It was widely understood that as long as God disallowed it, the fiend could not bear them to his shadow born. One man, however, was in fighting mood, awake and on edge, spoiling for action. And off the moors, down through the mid-bands, God-cursed Grethel came greedily loping. The bane of the race of men roamed forth, hunting for a prey in the high hall. Under the cloud murk he moved towards it until it shone above him, a sheer keep of fortified gold. Nor was that the first time he had scouted the grounds of Hrothgar's dwelling, although never in his life, before or since, did he find harder fortune or hall dwellers. Spurned and joyless, he journeyed on ahead and arrived at the barn. The iron-braced door turned on its hinges when his hand touched it. Then his rage boiled over. He ripped open the mouth of the building, maddening for blood, pacing the length of the patterned floor with his loathsome tread, while a baleful light flamed from his eyes. He saw many men in the mansion sleeping, a ranked company of kinsmen and warriors, quartered together, and his glee was demonic, picturing the mayhem. Before morning he would rip life from limb and devour them, feed on their flesh, and his fate that night was due to change. His day of ravening had come to an end. Mighty and canning, how Glaic's kingsmen had keenly watching for the first move the monster would make. Nor did the creature keep him waiting, but struck suddenly and started in. He grabbed and mauled a man on his bench and bit into his bone-like lappings, bolted down his blood and gorged on him in lumps, leaving the body utterly lifeless, eaten up, hand and foot. Venturing closer, his talon was raised to attack Beowulf, where he lay on the bed. He was bearing in with open claws when the alert hero's comeback and arm lock forestalled him utterly. The captain of evil discovered himself in a hand grip harder than anything he had ever encountered in any man on the face of the earth. Every bone in his body quailed and recoiled, and he could not escape. He was desperate to flee in his den and hide in the devil's litter. For all his days, he had never been clamped or cornered like this. When Hygielic's thrusty retainer recalled his bedtime speech, sprang to his feet and got a firm hold. Fingers were bursting, the monster's back stricken, the man overpowering. The dread of the land was desperate to escape, to take a roundabout road and flee to his lair in the fens. The latching power in his fingers weakened. It was the worst trip the terror-monger had taken to Herod. And now the tempers trembled and sang in a hall session that harrowed every Dane inside the stockade. Stumbling in fury, the two contenders clashed through the building. The hall clattered and hammered, but somehow survived the onslaught and kept standing. It was handsomely structured, a sturdy frame, braced with the best of blacksmith's work inside and out. The story goes that as the pair struggled, mead benches were smashed and sprung off the floor, gold fittings and all. Before then, no shield elder would believe there was any power or person upon earth capable of wrecking the horn-rigged hall unless the burning embrace of a fire engulfed it in flame. Then an extraordinary wail arose, and bewildering fear came over the Danes. Everyone felt it who heard that cry as it echoed off the wall, a god-cursed scream and strain of catastrophe, the howl of the loser, the lament of the hell serf, keening his wound. He was overwhelmed, menacing tightly by the man who of all men was foremost and strongest in the days of his life. But the Earl Troop's leader was not inclined to allow his caller to depart alive. He did not consider that life of much account to anyone anywhere. Time and again, Beowulf's warriors worked to defend their lord's life, laying about them as best they could with their ancestral blades. Stalwart in action, they kept striking on every side, seeking to cut straight to the soul. When they joined the struggle, there was something they could not have known at the time, that no blade on earth, no blacksmith's art could ever damage their demon opponent. He had conjured the harm from the cutting edge of every weapon, and his going away out of this world in the days of his life would be agony to him, and his alien spirit would travel far into fiends' keeping. Then he who had harrowed the hearts of men with pain and affliction in former times, and had given off offense also to God, found that his bodily powers failed him. Hygelac's kinsmen kept him helplessly locked in the hand grip. As long as either lived, he was hateful to the other. The monster's whole body was in pain. A tremendous wound appeared on his shoulder. Sinews split and bone lappings burst. Beowulf was granted the glory of winning. Grethel was driven under the fern banks, fatally hurt to his desolate lair. His days were numbered. The end of his life was coming over him. He knew it for certain, and one bloody clash had fulfilled the dearest wish of the Danes. The man who had lately landed among them, proud and sure, had purged the hall, kept it from harm. He was happy with his night work and the courage he had shown. The geek captain had boldly fulfilled his boast to the Danes. He had healed and revealed a huge distress, unremittingly humiliations. The hard fate they had forced to undergo, no small affliction. Proud proof of this could be seen in the hand the hero displayed, high up near the roof. The whole of Grethel's shoulder and arm, his awesome grasp. Oh, well. Since the dog was barking, let's do it again. Yeah.